This is the Aputure 300X kit. This is a great lighting kit that De Anza has that combines high output, easy dimming, and variable color temperature to match with other lights. It also can be used with multiple other modifiers, meaning you can get a softbox, a hard light, or more from this relatively small, low-power lighting kit. Opening up this box, we can see all the included equipment. There should be 2 cables in the top, a power cable that plugs into the wall to a power con connector, and a head connector that connects the ballast to the head. Inside the box itself is the light itself, the ballast, which controls and powers the unit, a mount that lets you mount it on a C-stand, the reflector, as well as some documentation and a remote control in this compartment. In order to set up the light, first pull out the actual light itself, and then there's a little latch right here that allows you to unlock any modifiers. Twist this and pull this off. Whenever it's packaged in the box, you want to make sure this clear little protector is on it. And then you can take another modifier, like the reflector, click it in, and then twist so you hear that click that it's locked so that you make sure it stays on. Then I'm going to remove everything else in the box I'll need. So this is the ballast that converts wall power on the bottom into the head connector to actually run the light. A little screw mount to mount that on the C-stand. And then the 2 cables that connects wall power to the ballast, and then the ballast to the lamp head itself. In order to mount this on a C-stand, first unscrew this so that it can be clamped on the C-stand itself. It should be able to go wide enough, and then clamp it on so it's relatively tight so that the ballast can just sit on a C-stand and not dangle on the floor or get damaged anyhow. The next thing you want to do is make sure this is up and this little pin is out, and then it can mount to this little back plate here. So first the bottom goes in, then it will click in and hold safely in there and shouldn't come off. If you want to remove this, click this little latch here, and it should fall off. Make sure it doesn't drop. And you can do the same thing again to make sure it's safely mounted on here. The light can be mounted on anything with a baby pin, so just slide it down and then tighten the screw to make sure it is tightly mounted on your support. In order to point the light, there's a little latch here that can be unscrewed to point it at whatever direction you want, and then tightened here. If you can't turn this the whole way for whatever reason, you can pull it out and twist it. So if you only can turn it half a direction, you can use that there. Typically, you want the fan side here to be facing down so that cold air can be sucked in here and blown out the top. In order to connect the power cords, take the little cable wrapper off here, find the side with these exposed pins here, plug it into the output on the top of the ballast here, then run the other end to the lamp itself. Then make sure that these cables are managed nicely so that extra cables aren't just dangling around with the potential of getting damaged or caught on something on set. Also be aware that if you want to lift the C-stand, for example, that there's not a ton of slack right now on this cable. So just bear in mind you don't want to tug on the ends of these cables if you don't have to. When it comes to the other cable, there's 2 ends on this cable. One plugs into a normal wall socket, and one is this power con connector that plugs into the bottom. The power con connector is a twist lock connector. So you want to put it in here so that this kind of wider side here goes in here, and then twist it till you hear a click. If you want to take it off, pull back on this little metal thing, turn a little bit, and it slides right out. Nice piece of work. Depending on how the light is set up, it might turn on when you plug it into the wall. So just be ready that it might turn on and make sure no actors will get blinded by the light. If the light isn't turning on by default, you can press this power button on here to turn the light on and off. There's then 2 dials on the light. This top one controls brightness from 0% to 100% to adjust the amount of brightness. And this bottom one controls color temperature going from 2700K all the way up to 6500K so that you can match other lights or lights in a room, for example. Then there's a few more buttons and controls here that can be used to change presets and settings. If you want to do more than basic white light, you can press and hold this left button to enter the effects mode. These effects are things like paparazzi flashes, fireworks, faulty bulb, lightning, TV, and other effects that might be useful on set. And you can use the same diodes to control the left on the frequency, or you can adjust the CCT depending on how you want the effect to look. Press and hold this again to go back into a normal white mode. In order to turn the fixture back off, press the power button again to turn the light off when you are done with it. Since these lights are LEDs, they don't run that hot, so you can pretty much immediately put them back into their case. Let's go over putting these away right now. I'm going to unplug the light from the head. I'm going to remove the reflector by pulling back on this here. And then I'm going to put the safety cover back on the light and put it back in the box. I've done this before. Once you're done shooting, make sure everything is put back into the box. So there should be 2 cables at the top. One connects to the wall and one's between the ballast and the lamp head. The light itself, as well as its protective cover. The ballast, the C-stand clamp, the reflector, and paperwork and the remote are in here. Then shut the bag and zip it up so it's ready to be used again.